Hey guys, James here of Obsessed Auto. Today we got a 2004 F150 that we're going to be working on. This thing needs rear brakes, so we're going to show you step-by-step process of how to replace the rear brakes on a 2004 F150. First thing we're going to do is jack up the vehicle and put it on jack stands for support, for safety, and then we're going to put a tire chock in front of the front wheels just so that we make sure the vehicle does not roll forward on us. These are the parts we're going to be using today. The truck has a pretty nasty shake to it when you use the brakes, so we are going to be replacing the rotors as well. We got all of these parts from Rock Auto. It seems to be the cheapest place you can get parts for a lot of different vehicles. However, do expect about a week to get your stuff delivered. The second thing we're going to do is we need to remove the center cap in order to access the lug nuts. Just like that, your lug nuts are removed. Next step is to remove the two bolts off the back of the caliper. It's a 10mm. Now we're going to remove the caliper from the rotor. A lot of times on these Fords, once you get this removed, the pad on the inner side of the rotor gets stuck to the vehicle, so you just kind of have to use a hammer and tap it out. To remove the rear rotor, just a couple good whacks with a hammer and you should be able to just pull it right on off. And just like that, you can remove the rear rotor. So our brake kit came with new slides, so we need to get these old ones off. We want to replace these so that the new brake pads have a nice surface to slide on, and it will help eliminate a lot of noise. In this case, the caliper's bracket was just a little rusty, so we're just going to clean it up with a little bit of sandpaper or a Gorilla Pad, something like that. So what we're going to do next is use some brake parts cleaner, and we're just going to kind of spray everything down in here just to help clean it up, get any debris that's been left behind. That way when we put the new rotor on, there's a nice clean mounting area, no dust buildup or anything like that. Alright, next step is we're just going to go ahead and stick the new rotor on the vehicle. And you want to make sure that it slides on fairly easy so that you know that the e-brake that's inside the drum here is not getting caught on anything. In this case, it slides on real easy, so we're good to go. Because this is a brand new rotor, we're going to go ahead and spray it with some brake clean. From the factory, these come with some rust inhibitor on them, and if you don't spray some brake clean on there, they'll smoke and just be smelling real bad for a while, so it's just a good idea to go ahead and spray it down while you're at this step. So now, we got our new slides here, and we're going to go ahead and get those installed. When you buy new brake pads, usually it comes with some grease. It's a good idea to go ahead and put some of this on the slides. Just helps the pads slide along just a lot better and helps eliminate some noise. So now that we got all the slides greased up, we need to get this old pad off of the caliper so that we can put the new pads in. What you're going to want to do is pry this little spring up, that way you can remove the pad. Just like that, pad is removed. So now, before we can put in the new pads, as you can see, these are much thicker than the old pads. So we need to get this piston pushed in a bit. So we got one of these fancy tools here. You can pick one of these up at your auto parts house for like $10. That actually helps push the piston in. If you don't have one of these, you can use pliers. However, that's a much bigger pain in the ass than this. So now, as you can see, the piston is fully seated. So we'll just take our tool off. And just like that, now we're ready to install our new pads. On the Fords, they have this little spindle on the back, and you just got to make sure you line that up into the middle of the piston. So now that we got the pads installed, what we're going to do is we're going to as we put this on, there is little hooks on the bottom side of this here. And what you're going to want to do is these slides will cause you some interference. So if you pull back while you're inserting this onto the rotor, it'll cause you a lot less hassle. So now that that's seated back onto the rotor, we can see that everything's lined up. Make sure that you're hooked on the hooks on the bottom here. We're going to take our two 10mm bolts and insert them back into the back. And with these, you just want to make sure they're good and tight. Alright guys, that really completes our brake job here on this 2004 F150. The last thing we need to do is just bleed the brakes. And we'll have a separate video for that, so stay tuned.